Katie Hacker, your host, and we are not wasting any time as we get started with Leslie Rogalski and an interchangeable wardrobe of jewelry. Leslie, these are some beautiful jewelry designs.
We are surrounded by a collection of jewelry that uses metal elements to replace some of the glass beads in this. These are all the same designs in 4 different metal colors.
That is so cool to see it so many different ways.
And it shows how color works. We specifically chose the glass beads to match silver, gold, rose gold, and antique brass.
Nice. So you can use the metal beads and then chain that are the same color.
That's right.
And then you also chose glass beads that go along.
To complement the metal colors. That's right. So we have metal elements that are the same size and shape as a bead, so you use it specifically in place of a bead. And then we have elements that are used as endings and connectors, and then there are ones that are used along the sides to help when you're working with these beads to move from bead to bead and incorporate into your designs.
Nice. Well, this is just a really great way to elevate your piece. You know, it's a concept I haven't seen before, and I think it is such a nice way to, like, adding metal to your glass always adds some heft, and I think gives it a more designer appeal.
It does, and it adds texture and, of course, another color with the metal that's in there. So we have slight differences between the earring components, the bracelet component, and the pendant that were designed that way in order to fit the way they're worn.
So which one are we going to make first?
So let's start with the earrings.
Okay.
So we have earrings, and they're slightly different on the top and the bottom. There's an ending element, metal element, that's used to attach your ear wire to. But let's get started. I'll show you how we do it first. So we're just going to tie. I've alternated, there we go, the beads with the substitutes. This little spring is on there just so it didn't come off when I was doing it. And you tie it into a knot, into a circle, like this.
Okay.
And you're going to weave in your tail and trim it later. So you're going to end up with something that looks like this.
And by weaving in the tail, you just mean passing back through the same holes?
Yes.
Or passing around the same holes
You want to tie 3 hitches so it doesn't come undone. And yes, you're going to sew through what we call existing thread paths, just to secure the thread and trim it. You don't need to glue it or anything.
Okay.
So your needle is coming now out of the center of a piece, and you're going to want to reverse direction so you come out. These are 2-hole beads, so you want to be able to come out the outer hole. And I'm going to show you that right now. This has, I've already stitched it, so I'm coming out and I'm sewing through that outer hole. So now I can add beads and the metal elements around the outside. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is pick up a different, you can see that this is matte and the ones I was using were backlit. So playing those colors against each other with the metal, it just keeps bringing more music to your piece.
That's right, more depth for sure.
Exactly. So you're going to stitch through 1 hole, and there are fully illustrated tutorials that are available. So as you guys are watching this, you'll be able to pick up the tutorial and be able to follow. So I'm going to pick up 5 little size 15 Japanese seed beads. Boy, they are bouncing all over.
They're tiny.
They are. And you can see that I have the bead fits right in there, and I'm going to go through the other hole and the next glass bead, like that.
Yeah, so they really fit perfectly together.
They are designed to do that. So I'm going to go all the way around, adding the extra matte beads with the little 15s on them.
Okay, and does it matter what type of thread you use?
I'm using Fireline.
Okay.
And a size 11 or 12 needle because you're using the 15. So you can see here, my next step, I've worked all the way around, and I'm going to go through the last matte bead the metal substitute, and you don't have to do it all in one stitch this way. So I went through that. I'm going through the first one that I added and the little seed bead on the end. And
one hole on the
one
two-hole bead.
And make sure that it's face up. These are two-sided. I'm picking up another 15 and sewing through the end 15 on this, and I'm going to stitch around again. You don't have to do this in one. I'm sewing through the end 15, and I'm kind of circling around back through the substitute that I just first added, out that gem duo and that same 15 that I did at the very beginning of this step. And this time, I'm sewing through the 15 that I just added with the little matte gem duo.
Okay. It's pretty awesome how these types of beads, especially the shape seed beads, interlock, and then having these metal beads to work in with them, I think is a really cool way to bring your designs kind of into.
It's very thoughtful engineering to help beaders create their designs. So I have strung 4 15s, and I'm picking up through the outside in one of the little endings.
Okay, and this is the piece that's going to attach
the ear wire. That's right. And the holes are very accommodating on these. So in order to get this to sit on the end here, so I've strung from the outside in. I'm going through the gem duo. That's the end one. And you can already see how that's going to fit right on there.
Right.
I'm sewing out from the inside out this time, through the end.
So you're constantly strengthening your work.
Yes, you sew through things a number of times, picking up 4 15s so that I can mirror what I just did, and sewing back through the last 2 that the second one I should say, that I picked up.
Okay.
And you're going to now sew all the way around, following existing thread paths. And I'm going to put this aside here. So we're coming out the bottom, and I have strung one of the side elements and more 15s. And again, you'll see how well this fits together. So it's coming out the last 15 on the bottom. You can see it's directly opposite where your earring's going to hang. And I'm sewing in through the end 15 and pulling this all together.
So it really cinches it up.
It does. You're at a point now where you would follow existing thread paths to weave in your end and make sure it was secure, and you're finished. And this is what it will look like. You open up an ear wire, string it on the loop at the end of the component, the element at the top, and there's your earring.
That's really beautiful, and that would make a great pendant too.
It would make a wonderful pendant. There are other things that you could do on the other side if you wanted to, make it a little fancier, but they fit so well together.
Yeah, everything looks, it's kind of a mosaic.
It is like a mosaic. And this is the antique silver that I'm working with here with the matte and the shiny backlit beads.
Nice. Well, let's see the next piece that you have here.
So this is for the bracelet. And in order to make the bracelet look more symmetrical, because you're going to attach chains to each side, so I've switched up the way it works a little bit. You're still starting with 6 shapes, 6 beads, but you can see that instead of alternating around, I have 2 that are symmetrical this way.
And of course, I love these medallions that you're showing us, but people could also adjust it depending on what beads they have or which shapes they want to use.
Absolutely. There are lots of other shapes of the metal elements to go with different shaped beads. And I think I had said that just because I'm using these with this particular shape bead doesn't mean they won't work with others. And we love to see people play with these. I'm going to bring in some 15s. So you're going to be doing the same thing that we did before, where you're wrapping your little 15s, your little row of 15s around the outside to go from hole to hole. So out one hole and in another, through the bead that you just picked up, and then through the substitute.
I know we'll have the illustrations for these for people to download themselves, but what if they want to design their own?
Play, play, play.
Okay.
There's one of the good things about beading is you can always undo it.
Sure.
You know, I know I've heard people talk about the frog stitch. Rip it, rip it, rip
I never heard that. That's great.
But the thing to remember is you do want to use Fireline, a thread without stretch. You don't want your piece to grow. You want to make sure that you're using the right size needle for the size bead that you have to go through. Here you can see that I've added already one of the sides, and the other side would come up. With the 15s, I came out of one hole, and I'm going through the other hole of the finding and around. You're going kind of around and around in these.
Yeah, it does have a mandala feeling.
I like that. Well, I mean, beading's very zen too, so.
Unless you're ripping it all the time.
Unless you're ripping it, that's right. So here I have the other side through the glass bead to add it. And I would add another gem duo up here with the little 15s. And then I'm ready to add, here, see, I had it all set up. So I have the 15, the last gem duo, and just like in the earring, I have added a 15, a gem duo and a 15. And where the earring had the finding to attach your ear wire, this is going to have two findings because you're going to want to have chain coming off of either side of it, which you just attach with jump rings. So I've added the 15, the gem duo and the 15, and I'm going to come all the way around and through the substitute.
Is that just to get your needle in the right place?
That's correct. There's a lot of going through your existing thread path again. So I'm going through the first gem duo that I would have added and coming out the first 15. Now, I want to go through that 15 that I added with the gem duo, and I'm going to add the end. I'm adding the ending where you would put the ear wire, but in this case, you're going to use jump rings.
Oh, for attaching the chain.
For attaching the chain. So I'm picking up a few more 15s to, just like I did with the earring, and again, the illustrations are really clear for you to see what you do, and of course the text explains it. I'm picking up 4 15s.
Okay.
And the ending. So it's going to look like this, and I would attach it the same way. And what happens here is once you've attached one, you need to sew through existing thread paths, which means there's already thread going through it. You don't want your thread to be showing. So you're going to sew all the way around and add another ending with a gem duo down at the end, like this.
Which is basically what you just did.
It's exactly the same. There's really minor differences in the design here. And then you get to put your chain on, and you just want to figure out your own length and a little clasp. And there's your bracelet, and you can see that it's very symmetrical this way.
That's a beautiful beaded component. This is really fun. Let's take a look at the bracelet. The silver and purple one is the one that you're showing us, but there's so many different ways you could go with the colors.
because of the 4 metal colors, there's so many combinations that you can use.
Right.
And I've played the matte surfaces against the backlit, but you can bring in all backlit if you want something really sparkly, or you want something a little earthier. You can mix and match the colors that go with the different metals.
Nice. If we look at the silver one with the purple beads there at the front.
Yes, and you can see that the chain comes off 2 sides, and that was a design decision so that it doesn't fold. So that it hangs that way. And you can see that the positions of the bead substitutes face a certain way just to give it an aesthetic look. And that's something you can play with too. You can bring more of the metal into it, fewer pieces, you can really feature them. Just play around. It's all about play.
I love this, Leslie. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have fun.